What if consciousness wasn't just a side effect of brain activity, but a causal force, one that actively shapes the universe itself? What if reality doesn't become real until a conscious mind steps in to witness it? In the early 20th century, quantum physics shook the very ground beneath science's feet. But one voice among the pioneers went even further. Eugene Wigner, Nobel Prize-winning physicist, suggested something few dared to say out loud, that consciousness was not just important, it was fundamental. Wigner believed that the measurement problem in quantum mechanics couldn't be solved without bringing in the observer's mind. He proposed a radical possibility, that consciousness doesn't just observe collapse, it causes it. In this video, we'll explore Wigner's provocative insights, his famous thought experiment, and the idea that consciousness may not belong to physics, but physics may belong to consciousness. Eugene Wigner was not a fringe thinker. He was one of the most brilliant physicists of the 20th century, a pioneer of quantum theory, group symmetry, and nuclear physics. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1963 for his foundational work on the structure of the atomic nucleus. But Wigner was also a philosopher at heart. As he grappled with the strange implications of quantum mechanics, he found himself asking questions that most physicists avoided, questions about consciousness, perception, and the role of the mind. Wigner noticed something troubling. The equations worked flawlessly, but the reality they described was incomplete. A particle could be in a state of pure probability, existing in multiple locations at once, until someone observed it. And Wigner couldn't ignore what this meant. If measurement collapses the wave function, and measurement requires consciousness, then consciousness isn't a passive observer, it's part of the machinery of reality itself. To understand Wigner's insight, we need to understand the measurement problem. In quantum mechanics, particles don't have definite properties until they're measured. Until then, they exist in a superposition, a cloud of probabilities. This is the famous wave function described by Schrödinger's equation. But the equation doesn't tell us when or how the wave function collapses into a single outcome. That collapse only happens when a measurement is made. But what qualifies as a measurement? A sensor, a Geiger counter, a brain? Wigner noticed that all measurements ultimately end in conscious experience. No matter how many detectors or instruments are involved, the final data must be registered in a mind. That led him to a bold conclusion. The wave function doesn't collapse until a conscious observer perceives the result. And that idea rewrites the relationship between mind and matter. To illustrate his point, Wigner devised one of the most famous thought experiments in modern physics. Wigner's friend. Imagine a scientist, Wigner's friend, is in a sealed lab performing a quantum experiment. She observes a particle that can exist in two states, let's say spin up or spin down. Upon measurement, the wave function collapses, and she records the result. But outside the lab, Wigner has no access to her experience. For him, the entire lab, his friend, the apparatus, and the particle, remains in superposition. This creates a bizarre paradox. From Wigner's perspective, the wave function hasn't collapsed, even though it has for his friend. Who is right? When does collapse happen? And more importantly, does collapse even occur if no conscious observer is there to witness it? Wigner argued that the only consistent solution is this: consciousness must play a special role in the collapse process. The mind completes the equation. This leads us to Wigner's most radical implication, that consciousness might be a physical force, not in the sense of a measurable field or particle, but as something causal, something that exerts influence on the unfolding of physical events. This idea challenges the foundations of materialism. In the materialist worldview, consciousness is a side effect, an emergent property of neural complexity. But Wigner flipped that script. If the presence of consciousness changes the outcome of quantum events, then it's not just passive awareness, it's an agent. It influences reality in a way no other physical system does. This raises enormous questions. Is consciousness non-local? Is it quantum in nature? Could it interact with matter without violating physical laws? Wigner didn't pretend to have all the answers, but he made one thing clear. No theory of reality is complete if it ignores the mind that observes it. Wigner's views also challenge the traditional split between mind and body. If consciousness plays a role in physical collapse, then the mind is not separate from the world, it's interwoven with it. The idea that mind and matter are fundamentally different substances begins to fall apart. Instead, what emerges is a non-dual vision, where consciousness and physical processes are entangled expressions of a deeper unity. This resonates with mystical traditions across the globe, from Advaita Vedanta to Taoism, which suggest that reality is not made of things, but of relations, processes, and ultimately, awareness. Wigner's work points toward a bridge, a way to move beyond Cartesian dualism and toward a holistic understanding where subject and object arise together. In this view, consciousness is not an epiphenomenon, it's a constituent of the cosmos. And to ignore it is to miss the most fundamental truth of all. Of course, Wigner's ideas were, and still are, controversial. Many physicists prefer to explain wave-function collapse with mechanisms that don't invoke consciousness, decoherence theory, many worlds interpretation, or hidden variables. These models try to keep the observer out of the equation. But none of them fully solve the measurement problem. They just shift the mystery to new domains. Meanwhile, Wigner's question lingers. Why does experience feel like collapse? Why does the world become definite only when we observe it? Even today, some leading-edge theories like the Orkor model of Penrose and Hameroff, or Donald Hoffman's interface theory, echo Wigner's intuition that consciousness is not a byproduct of matter, but the ground from which matter arises. Wigner's legacy is not just scientific, it's philosophical. He gave us permission to ask the forbidden question, what if mind is more real than matter? Wigner's insights remain unfinished, but perhaps that's the point. His work invites us to expand the boundaries of science to include the one thing we can never measure directly, but always experience: consciousness itself. As physics pushes deeper into quantum fields, dark energy, and the multiverse, it may also be circling back to something ancient, the idea that the universe is not a dead machine, but a living field of awareness. That collapse is not just a mathematical event, but a moment of encounter between the infinite and the known. Perhaps Wigner's true contribution was not just a theory, but a nudge, a reminder that to understand the cosmos, we must include the one thing through which all understanding flows, the conscious mind. So where does this leave us? If Wigner was right, then you are not a passive witness to the universe. You are a participant in its becoming. Your consciousness is not isolated in a skull. It's part of a process that shapes reality itself. The measurement is not complete without you. And perhaps the great mystery is not that matter gives rise to mind, but that mind gives form to matter. Wigner's work forces us to consider that the observer is never outside the equation, and maybe never was. If this perspective opened something within you, leave a comment below. Have you ever felt that your awareness wasn't in the world, but that the world was somehow in your awareness? And if you're ready to keep exploring the cosmic puzzle of consciousness and quantum reality, subscribe, because the universe is still collapsing, and it's doing so through you.